Okay, good morning. We are going to talk about some privacy law in Australia. Before starting that, let us introduce ourselves first. Imran, Ariel, Minu,
Hi.
and me, Haejang. Okay, then let's just have a look the overview of the privacy law. Then the privacy law in Australia is made in 1988. So it governs the way in which business entities and federal government agencies must handle the personal information. So here, the personal information means that information or an opinion about an identified individual or an individual who is reasonable identifiable, whether the information or opinion is true or not, and whether the information or opinion is recorded in a material form or not. So this is the definition about the personal information. Okay, so then what part have to follow the Privacy Act, the principles, then usually agencies and organization, it does not include any small business operator or registered political party or a state or territorial authority. Then let's have a look. The first principle is about the open and transparent management of personal information. So here, the first act requires an APP entity to implement privacy practice, procedures, and systems. So in order to ensure compliance with the remaining APP, the principles, and also that enable them to deal with inquiries and the complaints. Then next to the second principle, it's about anonymity and
Anonymity.
Just anonymity.
It's about entitles individuals to the option of anonymity or using it, when dealing with an APP entity, except where impracticable or another described exception applies. Then third principle is that collection of solicited personal information. So simplify, it permits an APP entity to collect personal information only where reasonably necessary for one or more of its legislated functions or activities. Also, it requires personal information to be collected directly from the individual to whom it relates, unless impracticable or another prescribed exception applies.
Hello, my name is Imran. And today we are talking about Australian privacy principle, which is APP stand for. So I'm going to talk about there's 2 points of APP. So in APP there's a dealing with unsolidated personal information. I'm going to talk about another point will be a notification of the collection of personal information. So both of these points can be very, very vital in the whole Privacy Act. So in the first one, I'm talking about the dealing with unsolidated personal information. It says required they reserve the unsolidated personal information to be determined wherever it would be otherwise have a good ground of which to collect it in. On the other side, the notification of collection of personal information is really important, because if we go somewhere, there is every time we got to fill up a form, and you got to fill up your details which will include your personal information, and the people you giving them your handouts, they really have to follow these collection of personal information to following the Privacy Act, and it is really important they can go through. If they can't, they will be in big trouble according to this Privacy Act law. It's up to me now for the next points.
Thank you, Imran. My name is Meenu. So today I am going to talk about Privacy Act. So I will be complete 3 points in my Privacy Act. So first one is use of disclosure of personal information. APP prohibits an APP entity from using and disclose personal information for a purpose other than the purpose for which it was collected unless the individual consents. The individual would reasonably expect their personal information to be used for the secondary purpose or another prescribed exception applies. Such expectations generally arise where the disclosure is necessary to protect someone's health or safety or it otherwise in the public interest. The next one is direct marketing. In general, it prohibits personal information to be used for direct marketing purpose unless the individual reasonable expect it or consent to it and process are in place for which the individual can elect not to receive direct marketing communications and the individual has not elected as such. And the last one is adoption, use or disclose of and the last one is cross-border disclose of personal information. If an APP entity is to disclose personal information to an overseas recipient, APP 8 requires it to take reasonable steps to ensure the recipient does not breach the APPs. This usually requires the APP entity to impose contractual obligations on the recipient. Relevantly, if the overseas recipient does breach the APP, the Privacy Act imposes liability on the APP entity that made the overseas disclosure. There are expectations to the obligations, including but not limited to whereas the APP entity reasonably believes the overseas resident is bound by a law or scheme that protect personal information in a sustainability similar way to other of the APP or the individual consents to the disclosure in the knowledge that such consent will negate the APP entity obligation to ensure the overseas resident does not breach the APP. So now the last point discussed with Ariel.
Hello, and today I'm going to talk about some other principles like adoption, use or disclosure of government-related identifiers. Principle 9 prohibits app entity from adopting, using or disclosing a government-related identifier unless required and or authoritated by law, necessary to verify an individual's identity and or another prohibit expansion applies. Government-related identifiers are identifiers that have been assigned by a government agency, including an individual license number, Medicare number, passport number, and tax bill number. And another principle is quality of personal information. Principle 10 requires an app entity to take reasonable steps to ensure personal information it collects, uses, discloses, and holds accurate, up-to-date, and competent. Additionally, personal information can only be used or disclosed to the extent to which it is relevant to the purpose of use of disclosure. Thank you.
Thanks guys, thanks for watching the video. See ya.
Thank you.